Crazy fall. A lot happened in the last few months, guys, and I had one of my hardest real estate deals ever. And this was a one deal, but moving with two transactions. It had two sides. That's why I want to give you a kind of demonstration for you guys to understand better. I have these, the first party, as you guys, the third party, and this one, actually it's a gift from Turkey, and this is gonna be us, okay? I mean, myself, I learned a lot starting from the beginning all the way to the end, because it was a lot happening with the different parties, which I'm going to explain you, but we were able to wrap up everything at the end. Actually, I'm not gonna spoil all of it, so tag along till the end, and hopefully this will be a lot of value for you too. Welcome again my YouTube channel ERTUCE, guys. Life in America, real estate, and also my work trips all around the world. If you're interested in any of those topics, subscribe to my channel for upcoming short and long videos. Again, educational, interesting, fun, real estate, life in America, and my road trips or work trip. Before I start playing with our parties and explaining the details, if this is the first video of mine that you guys are seeing right now, I am a full-time real estate agent and investor based in Montgomery County, Maryland, but I cover all three: Maryland, DC, and Virginia. If you are buying, selling, or investing in DC, Virginia, Maryland, let's get connected, and I would like to help you with the best possible options and scenarios out there. That being said, let's cut to the chase and start talking about this. So, today's story, this story is going to be from Ellicott City, Maryland. Beautiful town, right? Let's start. This is us. I got a listing and it's a beautiful single family home, 5-bedroom, 3.5 bathrooms, over 5,000 square foot living space, award-winning school district, right? So everyone kind of trying to move into that neighborhood. That type of home we are talking about. But here is the catch. So my seller, she's going to sell, she plans to sell her home and buy actually smaller size townhome or condo, right? So basically she's gonna sell this and then they buy the next one. But to be able to buy the next one, so we are going to use the funds from the first sale, which is gonna be the listing, our listing, so she can fund the basically next. No loans, no bridge loans, nothing. So it's gonna be directly cash. That transaction is contingent upon of this sale. So the current listing we have. That's the moving part right here. So what do we do? While we are getting ready our home, also start buying options. What's out there? So if we were able to find something, then we know and we expect actually, with the data, how quickly properties goes on the market with that school district and considering the property's condition and all that. We started our search on the buying side, right? And we are like month away from going active on the main listing. So after like 3 weeks later, since we started our search for the buy-in, we did multiple trips. I can't remember exactly. Each trip we go see houses, right? The potential options. Finally, we were able to find this condo, and my seller, she fell in love with it, comparing to the other options and the price point and everything, condition of it. It was really well taken care. And actually sellers who were moving out, who's selling that condo, this one, so I better show it here to not to get confused. They had an unexpected grandson, so they were not actually planning to move out of there, but it happened to be that way for them too. So that's why it was not like a investor type property or something like that. They actually put a lot of work and money into it. So condition was really great because they invested it a lot. They were planning to stay there for a long time, but change of plans. So we submitted our offer and we were able to get under contract. Great. Now we just need to get this ready as soon as we can and put it on the market and manage the timeline with that, because we put 3 months timeline in case, we stay on the market longer as a safety net, right? So we are just trying to get this ready. In the meantime, we put $15,000 EMD deposit for this one and contract is moving forward. So this one is $545,000 under contract. Anyways, let's talk about this. We get the property ready. We had to do a few works and repairs around to be able to present better, and also did some half staging. House was already furnished, but even in that case, better to blend that already furnished home with the great staging items, so it's overall better presentation, right? Anyways, move forward. We had all done, everything is ready, and then we go on the market. Guess what? Less than 10 days, multiple offers, and the best offer we receive, it's the cash offer. And it's for the asking price, which is 1.1 million. So they seem to be reasonable, you know, with the contract, the terms, they're communicative, and all is moving forward. And for the contingencies too, they only had inspection, no appraisal, it was a cash. They were okay with everything and we were just going to the closing. So this is the first party we were working with, who's trying to buy our main listing, the house, right? Our house. And this is the party we are working with the end, that condo we are trying to buy. So we are in the middle, we're gonna cut in the middle, we are in the middle. And this is the first party, this is the third party. So you guys know now what's up. Anyways, all is fine. Both are moving with the, you know, the timeline and getting closer to the closer date with this one. But in the meantime, what we have done, remember this one, we had 3 months of time frame in case we were gonna stay longer on the market. But once our timeline changed with this one, so we plan and we adjust everything accordingly, which is we took the closing date earlier for this one too with our request, because my seller just want to close this, and then obviously with the soonest time frame there, she just want to move to this one. So she doesn't want to wait somewhere 2 months or month, whatever, you know, between this. And yeah, so they come, closing day, everything fine, everyone signs. And guess what? So everything is signed, all is good, but we haven't received the money that day. And anyways, we said like, you know, it takes some time. Next day, we wait, and it's like afternoon, it's almost like 3 p.m. or so, and still haven't received the money. So we call them, and then they say, oh, that was kind of a delay with the bank, it's gonna be in there tomorrow, which is like original date was the 2 days later than the original date. And we are kind of caught off guard, but like tomorrow, and we said, okay, let's do that, you know, tomorrow. We just need to do an addendum to see, you know, like tomorrow is the closing date, we just do that, and day comes. The thing is that with the cash offer, you know, they provide bank statements, and which we looked at them, the names and the balance and everything, it was sufficient and there actually. But when you don't have the money, you don't have the money. So we're gonna learn later there's something funny with the money. So yeah, that day comes in and then there's no money. So we call them and say like, hey, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, there's a problem with the transfer. Actually, the bank, I mean, it was Wells Fargo, they're having problems with the transfer, and you know, we will need more time. And we asked, oh, like, what do you need the time for? Because if it's a wire, you can just do wire and it's available in few hours. I mean, we have done this many times. There's, you know, we will need more time. I mean, we didn't know exactly what was going on, but we were like, okay. In the meantime, actually, with the contract, they put $11,000 in EMD. And then what? We give him 2 weeks of extension. But here is the thing, it has to come with the cost, correct? Because we are kind of risking it. I mean, canceling the contract and going back on the market, and then just it might take, you know, 2 weeks to get under contract, or the market is shifting too in the meantime. Anyways, okay, we're gonna give you 2 weeks, but each day for that 2 week period of time, you guys are going to pay daily penalty as $500. Basically, this is the idea that I come up with. We are protected, and then, you know, they pay and they are more invested in the process. So in case something goes south, so, you know, we have at least some kind of, you know, cost protection. And guess what? They agreed to it and they were gonna pay it. And they paid actually that partial amount up front, and then they were gonna pay the rest at the end. But also with this one, we changed the original date from that 3 months to right after closing of this. So now we have to explain to this party what's happening, and then hopefully, you know, we can keep this contract, right? So we are just caught right on the middle. And yes, we are not doing anything wrong as the seller of this home and the buyers of this house, but these people, again, like the contract is contingent upon of this sale. So if this person cannot finish, we cannot take this all the way. That's how it is. So then we go and try to explain to these people, they needed 2 weeks of an extension. Of course, this party first freaked out. Are they gonna be able to close? Are you gonna be able to close? Should we like back out? And you know, in this kind of situations, you have to calculate all the way through, because again, for them to going back on the market, is it gonna be more beneficial, or you just wanna, you know, take the time to be able to close this? I mean, there are of course risks like up and downs with the, you know, both processes and whole process, but you gotta do what works the best, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to protect my seller's interests in the best way possible with the first party, with the second party. Anyways, so this party, they get to agree to that 2 weeks of extension. But also, just like we charge this party, this buyers for $500 daily rate, they wanted to charge us for $200 for the daily rate for that 2 weeks of extension, you know? So we're gonna basically get 500 from this, pay this one to 200, so it's still like 300 positive, which is good. Anyway, so we thought that was fair too, and then we agreed to do this one, and then everyone is waiting for that 2 weeks period, right? So to be able to finish and then move forward. In the meantime, a lot of happening and stress is building up, right? Because you have to, like, you know, satisfy these people, hey, we are gonna be able to close, and then get the, you know, best possible communication from this party. We make sure like they're gonna be able to close. Anyways, it's all like hanging in there. I'm trying to keep like everyone, all the parties cool, calm and collective. So let's work this out, right? That's the goal. Finally, day comes in, right? They're gonna close. Money is not there. And then also they asking for more extension. And the agent who represent this buyer seems like have no idea why they didn't have the money, what was funny with the money. He was just like mumbling around, and we didn't know the exact reason at the end of the day, but they couldn't close. And then he trying to explain that his buyer had a court case against him and money wasn't, you know, hold or something like that. First they said that, and then we were like, so basically he said that, but he wasn't sure. I was like, talk to your buyer. If he's gonna be able to do it, then we're gonna move forward. If not, this is done, you know? So they couldn't do it. Lots of talk with the title company and attorneys too, because again, whatever you sign with the timeline, what is binding, what's not binding? If we do this move, then what's gonna be the outcome? You know, how we can protect our interests right here, right? At the end, we lost our faith in these buyers and we are not waiting any more days or anything like that. We said, you gotta pay the EMD, and that penalty amount you didn't pay, that portion, you gotta pay all of it, and then, you know, we're gonna move forward and this is done. And guess what? They kind of slow down the communication. When I call the agent, text or trying to contact, he doesn't respond. And title company trying to contact them, agent, the buyer, they are kind of pretty slow. Like I said, we have to explain these people what are we doing now, and then position ourselves in the best possible scenario with them too, to have the, you know, least possible cost for us, because we don't know if they're gonna be okay moving forward with us. Or basically what I suggested my seller to do with this party, I'm gonna draft a legal letter. This is, if you are not going to do the, you know, follow the contract terms, then this is what we're gonna do. It was a like long letter that I create, send it to him, the agent, the broker, because they stopped communication too and all that, and title company. So everyone is in that email and it's in writing right there. They got a response. That's what happened. That letter that I created and sent it to them did the work, because the outcomes from that letter could be way heavier if they weren't exactly going to do what we wanted. We wanted release the EMD, pay the penalty portion amount, whatever is left, and then we are done with you, go on your way. So we are not going to sue you with the other things and the cost that happened in this process. Just this is, let's split. Like I said, guess what? After that letter, they accepted it, released the EMD, we kept the $11,000 plus $8,000, it comes up to $19,000 positive for this process. I mean, we lost time, of course, but with the best possible scenario, being able to keep that and not deal with the, you know, the court and the EMD, trying to take the EMD out, even the portion of that, you know, penalty, it could take years, literally. Like if you go to court, God knows when you're gonna have the outcome. Actually, if you go hire an attorney and all that fees, if you're gonna be able to get from them at the end of the judgment and all that. So we were good on this. So this was the basically best possible scenario and we were able to pull it off. I was so happy. So now, forget about this, split up, let's talk about this. They were really not happy what happened, but I tried to explain it to them and then they know it too. It wasn't none of our mistake, but because of the first party, they had to split up. This was their doing. So we were willing to close on time and everything. And in fact, remember 3 months timeline, we took that day earlier because we were closing earlier. So we did everything the best possible way we can, and we kept the communication with them. But at the end of the day, we put $15,000 EMD for them. And then remember, they wanted $200 daily penalty for the process. They couldn't close and then we couldn't close. So that time frame. So here's what happened here. And I want to underline this. These are the times you really need to, you know, trust that person that you are working with. or know their value, because you gotta negotiate with this, with that, to be able to make you have the best possible scenario. So from this part, you have to be really dedicated to, move all moving parts, because from that negotiations, constant communication, even they're not that communicative, and then you're trying to still pull up the best possible scenario, which we did on that side. Same thing with this one too. Now we took care of that one, negotiate the best possible scenario. Now we're gonna do with this. So I call her, the listing agent, and we talked about it. I'm like, this is not our mistake. My seller had such expenses too in the process. She was ready to move out. She rented the moving truck in that day. She had to cancel it and all that. We are not willing to pay that $200 penalty because this wasn't our mistake. I know it was a contingent contract, but this is the deal, We still could keep the original settlement date, which was 3 months later. So we could come back and, go under contract and all that, but this is what it is. And then for the EMD, initially they said they want to keep the whole $15,000 that we put in. And we said, that's not going to happen too, because again, the process is like, okay, the contingent contract, but it's affected by the first party. We are trying to move with the best possible intentions, So with that one, we come into the term. We weren't gonna pay more than the half of it. So $7,500, they can keep it, and then we are not gonna be able to pay that penalty. That was a really hard actual negotiation, but again, I was able to pull that with everything happen, and then explaining to them, this is the situation, how it is. We don't want to take this to the court and trying to get involved everything all over from the beginning. So this is the easy way out. I mean, technically they didn't have to agree. They could probably keep the whole $15K. Probably will have to pay that $200 penalty, at the end of the day, but they had to fight for it. They had to wait a little longer to, to be able to get those all. So basically I negotiated, and hopefully this is gonna be the best solution for everyone moving forward. So, everyone split the part ways, and then it goes that way. And again, here, my seller was worried, hey, ERTUCE, they gonna keep the, we have to pay that $200 penalty, daily penalty for them, and then they're gonna keep the whole EMD just like we kept the EMD from the first one, And all this kind of processes, again, it comes down to that person you trust and you start your home selling or buying journey with. Are they really willing to fight for you till the end? Behind the scenes, I mean, you do the phone talks, the phone conversations, whatever, how much they gonna care to get you to the finish line with their best possible, intentions and the representations. So anyways, I negotiated not paying that $200 daily rate. That was clear. My seller was super happy. We were happy. And then the same thing with the EMD. They could have kept it if they waited for a month. But again, that too, we were able to negotiate. Oop, it's just gone away already. So we had technically 19,000 positive, and then we had to pay him 7,500, half of the split for the EMD, and we closed at the end of the day $11,500 positive, which was one of the best possible scenarios for us to have finished like that. This is why working with someone and trusting them, especially as your agent, as your realtor, this is why it's important. Even if this was the complicated process, but even if it's a regular, all smooth process for buying or selling, it's still a lot goes into it with the negotiations and decision-making processes with the both parties that you are working with. When the time comes, behind the scenes, this person that you are working with really have to educate your rights and your interests in the best way possible. And trust me, not that many people do that. And this is where the top and the best agent value comes into play. What happened at the end, so everyone parted ways, right? And then we had to go back on the market for the main property, our listing, and find a new best possible potential property to buy. So we had to do everything again, all over again. But we put the property on the market again, and we got it under contract less than 2 weeks, then started looking for options, then trying to adjust the timeline, not just the timeline, but everything that happened from the first transactions that we were trying to do. So now basically we are trying to take it really careful. I mean, since I have this Turkish thing from Turkey too, we have a saying exactly for this kind of situations, that person's whose mouth got burned from drinking milk, now when it's time to just eat cold yogurt, they still blow on it while eating it, because once you got burned from the milk, even if it's a yogurt in the second process, but you still be, you know, like more cautious, unnecessarily maybe cautious, but sometimes you gotta be like that, especially like, you know, having this first thing. We couldn't go anything like that ever again because we gotta be just careful, you know. So while our listing was under contract, in the meantime, in that 2 weeks time frame, actually less than 10 days, not even 2 weeks, we were able to locate a, you know, really good townhome, beautiful house. Then we put the, you know, the dates based on the closing date of this one. That one was like few days later. And then we watched every step, you know, carefully with the EMDs and all the process. So the buyers were serious and money was there. Actually, this time it was not a cash, it was a loan, but we were able to close it on time and then purchase the next one. So down the line, we'll see what other stories or hard ones, hard processes that we are going to cross with. Once again, before I finish the video, if you are buying, selling, or investing in DC, Virginia, Maryland, DC DMV area, contact me and let's get started, let's get connected. So basically we can discuss and evaluate the best possible scenarios with the everything happening in the market. Here's always what I tell. First, whatever you need, that's the most important thing. With the timeline, with your house's condition, or you know, like you need more space or downsizing, your values, like put them on the one side, and then the external factors like interest rates or what the market is doing, then we can talk how we can adjust this and put it in the equation to have the best possible outcomes. So that's how we can see and provide the best value, right? That's that for today, guys. Follow and subscribe for the more videos. Bye now.